Join us, MrTruck.com, for truck reviews, trailer reviews, and accessory reviews. Welcome to another exciting Zoom video, and I've got Dan, Mr. Big Truck Dan. Well, welcome back, folks. I hope you got a lot out of that video, talking about the Allison and the ZF transmission and some of the rumors about Ram. So I really want to talk more about grade shifting. So let's go into GM's grade shifting. And all this is important to me because if you come down the hill with a load and you can control it with grade shifting, and that the adaptive cruise control is wonderful, work great on the Ram. I've seen it work on the Ford. I've seen it work on GMs. But now the newer ones, they will break the trailer and the truck all by themselves, and a grade shift will slow you down. And it's cool is that Ford and Ram, I can't remember if Allison has that, but Ford and Ram both have like on that exhaust brake, they have like a high and a low, and or an automatic and a high. It's probably what they're more descriptive of it. But they go in a high full exhaust brake, which will slow you down fast. Then Ram came out first with the slower one. It's an automatic, so you don't shake the horses up when you're slowing down. So it's more of a gradual. And that will actually control your speed. Does really well in that Ram. And I've seen it work on a Ford. But the full exhaust brake, because Ford has a two-speed kind of thing too, two options on the exhaust brake. Full exhaust brake will just about stop you down to zero. So when they first started changing that about 2 years ago, we had to quit using it because it slows down way below the speed you wanted. We had to keep speeding up. And then how do you count brake applications when you're speeding up and slowing down that much? So anyway, so that worked out really well. Now on the GM with the Allison and the Duramax diesel on the 10-speed, we've got that new 10-speed on that Allison, that 1000. Used to be called a D1000. It's always been 1000. Then they have like a 25, maybe a 3000. They go up several lists to the commercial side of that. But anyway, the on that one, on the Ike with TFL truck, me and Andre flying down the hill, that 2020, I can't remember the GMC or Chevy, but it did 9 brake applications, which means coming downhill in tow haul mode. And we tried them with their adaptive, and it didn't seem to work for us this year for the 2020 model, the same way they used to. I'm not sure exactly why. I've got to look into that. But 9 times I had to push on the brakes to keep it between 50 and 60. That's what we do. We come out of the tunnel at 50, goes up to 60, 61, we hit it back down to 50. So that's how we control it, and it did 9. Now, the 6.6, the new heavy-duty gas engine, which is interesting. It's not a 10-speed. It's the GM, I can't remember the number of it, but it's a GM 6-speed they've had for 20 years. And the GM has told me that that's been their best transmission for warranty work. They don't hardly ever work on these things. And my brother had one. They're great. But it's still a 6-speed. Everybody else is going to 10-speed or 8-speed, and you're playing with a 6-speed. They did that because of the new engine. They didn't want to take, and somehow get into 2 new projects, a gas and a transmission. So they just stayed with gas, the new one, and it's a 6.6, same size as the diesel.
Well, that's kind of like diagnosis, replace with known good components. So, you keep at least one good thing. You don't want too many variables in there.
Well, that's what they say, and I understand that. But, you look at GM on their diesels and Ford and their diesel on gas, they jumped right into 10-speed. They didn't wait, and keep running the old one with the new engine.
Well, you got to risk it to get the biscuit.
I suppose. That's a good saying. I got to remember that. Did your dog tell you that? You got to risk it to get the biscuit? Or what?
Oh, no. My wife loves cats, so no dog for a while now.
Yeah, well, that's 6-speed in that 6.6 gas engine heavy duty for 2020. They did 10 brake applications, which not much more than a diesel. So, I'm not going to complain about 10. I like them lower than that, but that's a 10. But the interesting thing is now you go drop down to the 1500, the full-size 1500, and in that new baby Duramax that we all love, that 3-liter inline 6, again, it has a 10-speed.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and so does their, the $6.2 gas engines. And I thought, wow, this is really going to be cool because it's the only 1500, 150, it's only half-ton like that has an exhaust brake on a diesel. Why Ram didn't do it, why Ford didn't do it, I have no idea. But the problem with it is is with all that, they only have one button. So they have a button for exhaust brake, a button for tow haul mode. One button does it all. Same way in a Colorado and Canyon. But the calibration's off because that diesel, it did 8 brake applications, and I never could tell the exhaust brake even worked. But the kicker is you compare that to that ZF in the Eco Diesel of Ram with no exhaust brake and an 8-speed, not a 10-speed. It had 8 brake applications. So what's the advantage, GM? I know it goes up the hill faster. That's what all 10-speeds do. You got that shorter jump because the RPMs are not as much, and you can get to the next gear without having to wait or rack it up so much. That's good. But downhill, you can't tell that you did anything, and that's not good. There's something, all they have to do, because, and we'll talk about Ford next, they build the same engine with the factory with Ford, and Ford changed their calibrations on certain ones of the 3.5 EcoBoost. All they got to do is find out what the calibration is and change that in that inline 6 3-liter Duramax. Now, what were you going to say?
Mr. Truck, I got a question for you. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, didn't you and that pretty gal named Kelsey happen to be going down the side of a mountain in one of those 10-speed baby Duramax equipped or Mini-Max equipped Chevrolets, and it happened to be on a cruise control before you found the engine brake to actually start working?
I don't remember that we did that. I remember somebody in the comments told us to do that. And I didn't get that from GM, but did we do that? I don't remember. I remember that was what people asked us to do. And that's how the original Allison
there was some part in the video where all of a sudden it did like it was supposed to, but it was after the fact. And you guys, I forget if it was the same truck that they had on TFL that time around. It very well could have been, because, fleet presses being what they are. But I have a feeling that there's certain parameters that have to be met before it works. And it's very possible that because cruise control wasn't enabled and it wasn't X amount over the speed limit, like the cruise control set speed, it didn't enable.
That could be, because I remember complaining about this before when I did it with the Ike with Andre, and that may be why when I got it, I did test it that way. That would make sense for me to do that. I'm old. My memory kind of goes in and out. But you could be very well right, because I know that was an issue, and I brought it up in that video with Andre. But so maybe I didn't figure that out, because I know that we had comments on that saying that that's how it works. But that's how the original Allison and the heavy duty GMs were. They would, this is 5 years ago, they would say, okay, go around the world, pull a trailer. All you gotta do is set the cruise control, and the transmission, tow haul, all that would automatically take care of you all the way across country. You didn't have to touch a brake. And I thought that was really interesting, and maybe that's part of the new equation. But we tried that. Me and Andre tried doing the cruise control with the GM, and it didn't work this time. So I don't know if they changed that, because that was impressive 5 years ago. Nobody else was saying that. Yeah, you run around the world and never touch a brake. I mean, it was a great marketing angle, and those early ones, I think, did it, because I remember that. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years, so I remember a lot of trucks off and on, and I've got to go back and watch videos to remember everything.
Sounds like a Jerry Reed song, see, never mind them brakes. It sounds like part of a Jerry Reed song.
That could have been. And Andre, we sing going down the road and
oh yeah,
all that crazy stuff. But yeah, so that's what I think with them to fix. They need to fix that. It's all about calibration, and if Ford can do it, they can do it. So now let me tell you how Ford did it. Because we complained about the Ford. I mean, the diesel, it had problems, and then I think it needed some help with the same thing. And so when we did the 3.5 EcoBoost, like I own, when we did down the hill, I got with TFL truck, it did 11 brake applications. So that's the very high end, until this new thing from Ram and this Hemi and that 2500 did 14 world record. Before that, 11 was kind of the ceiling, and that's what the normal 350 10-speed did, was 11. But the diesel, it actually, the 3-liter V6 150 diesel did it in 7 brake applications, which is an improvement, but didn't have an exhaust brake. So that beat GM's by 1, and GM has an exhaust brake. You gotta have an advantage there. And when it's the only half ton, my gosh, get that straightened out, because that should be like everybody should want one. I mean, me and Andre were both talking about getting one until we did that, and we couldn't get it to grade shift like we wanted to. So that's the thing holding up people, especially if they're watching my videos, because they complain about it. But they're so close to having the ideal truck that would just tickle me to death. They're so close. But back to the 150. So all these are 10 speeds, and then now all their trucks are 10 speeds. But so that one, 11 brake applications, nothing to be impressed by. But because I kept complaining, says all this is a grade shifting thing, get your calibration straight. They did, because I complained about it on the Expedition, what's it called, the Platinum. And I complained about it on the 150 Limited, because those have the Raptor engine in them, that more horsepower. It's a high output 3.5. They changed the calibration on those puppies. At least they told me they did, but maybe it's because of the extra power, because it grade shifted wonderfully. Those things would come right down there and slow you right down. I think it was 4 brake applications. That's what they should do. Coming down a hill with maximum capacity, which some cases 11, some cases 14, whatever it is for that truck, it should come down that hill in 4 brake applications. Imagine how much braking of your disc brakes that would save, and
Oh yeah.
and you wouldn't get down the bottom of the hill and have to go find a bathroom. I mean, all those things would be helpful. But and then so they fixed it on some, but why not my truck? Why not all the normal 3.5s? Ford, answer that question. But anyway, and then on their Super Duty, and we just had a launch, I think last fall, with a trimmer and Super Duties and all the extra power they had. And on the Power Stroke, coming down the Ike Gauntlet, the TFL's Ike Gauntlet, we did it in 5 brake applications, and that's good. And that, but it was so finicky. I mean, it wasn't like it was easy to do, or you could doze off and do it. No, coming down this one mountain, we had it in tow haul mode. We had all set up. We had a pretty good trailer. I remember it was 14,000, whatever it was, and if you had to hit just the right RPMs, just the right grade, just the right weight, and it would downshift like I asked them to. Raise those RPMs in tow haul mode, just in tow haul mode. Worked great, but it took me 3 tries to find that sweet spot. It wasn't like it was an easy thing. Cruising down the road, you do it, and all of a sudden starts grade shifting you slower. It wasn't that easy. If they would fix that, that would be wonderful, because they told me that they understood what I was complaining about and that they made it work in this new Super Duty. But I'm going to keep after them on that, because I think they will change that. Now, that new 7.3 gas, the Godzilla, whatever that is, that's a wonderful gas engine. I love that truck. And we had that on the Ike Gauntlet with a 430 rear rim, which gives you a little more RPM, like I'm talking about on some of these other trucks that should have 410s instead of 373s. And that's a 10-speed. See, another 10-speed out there that didn't have to practice on the old transmission. That's that 10-speed coming right out the bat. It did 9 brake applications. Not impressive, but it did. That's what it was.
And that's that 7.3 gas?
Yeah, 7.3 gas. You didn't get a big enough hill out there where you're at in Georgia, did you, to do that?
No, we didn't have a big enough hill for it. I just kind of went up some of the steeper things that we have around town here, because, to be honest, I went searching for a really good one that I remembered, given my 94 Dodge. It gave it a hard time. Actually a hard enough time where I think I had about 20,000 pounds or so, truck, trailer, everything gross. And the transmission, check transmission temp light came on about the top.
Oh.
So that might be in North Carolina, so that might be a couple hours away. But once I find that, I can start doing that over here. You actually really put things through their test. But I tell you what, those transmissions really come into their own once you put some good weight on them. I know that's for absolute sure.
Yeah, that's true. And what I've noticed with them that I think needs change too is if it does grade shift, it does it at 45 miles an hour. It doesn't do it where I want it at 75, where I'm screaming down the hill and I don't want to burn up my brakes. If it kicked in at those higher speed, higher RPMs, then it'd have time to grade shift. It'll save itself if it's going too high RPM, like the red line, it'll shift up. So it drops the RPM, but that gets real scary. But if they would get that thing to kick in at 75 or 70, but it's kicking in at 45, I mean, hell, I can stop a truck without worrying about it 45 miles an hour. It's those higher speeds of the load that you really need grade shifting and maybe better line pressure to slow you down. That's my opinion on that. But
now, the other truck that she talks about, was that last year's model, or was that the new 2020 model that had the 11?
The 11.
That needed the that you had took you like 3 times to get it right. Was
Yeah,
that the new 20 model?
those were 20s. Yeah, those were 20s. They did the big launch where they launched the Tremors, we went off-roading and pull trailers. And
Oh, okay,
somewhere
yeah.
in California. It was in the same sand pit. I was there 10 years earlier than that. And my vest was still sitting there in the chair. I don't know how that worked out. But yeah. That's the fun thing about being a journalist. We had travel all over the place, all these fun places, really cool hotels and awesome food and airplanes. Well, now I don't care about airplanes anymore. But anyway, we haven't done that this whole year yet because of all this stuff that's going on. So here we are in our bunkers trying to figure out more videos to do. And we're not getting many trucks now. For a while, I was getting a truck every week, sometimes 2 trucks a week. And that all ended like June. And now we're not getting anything. So I'm hoping we start getting some media trucks again. Or otherwise, I can't do like TFL, go out and buy 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, and have plenty of trucks.
Yeah.
I think you should do it.
That's that big
buy
money.
Some new trucks. Yeah, go out and buy some new trucks. And then we'll have something to talk about. But we'll start doing more accessory reviews and some other things and try to fill in all these gaps so we keep pumping out videos. Well, thanks for joining us, and make your comments about what do you think about these transmissions? What do you think about tow haul mode? And what should Ram do? Should Ram stick with the transmission they have, or should they wander off in the wilderness? Because, Allison, it's probably been around the oldest, and using the buses back in the 30s probably. And then Allison's a very old transmission too, and Toyota owns like half of them, but they've been making for commercial vehicles for a long time. I mean, you can go back in a lot of Jeeps and they had Allison transfer cases, and they're a big company. But anyway, here we are. We'll see if they pick something else other than the Allison that they have. If they venture off the ZF, if they venture off to Allison, it'd be interesting. So thanks.
So, I got a question. Oh no, we can't be done yet. I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm wondering. Now you talk about grade shifting. What are your grades for these grade shifting trucks?
What am I? Well, I've had good, we've talked about that Cummins at 0 coming down the hill, so I can't complain about the Cummins and the Allison with Ram.
So I guess that grade shifting would get an A?
Yeah, and I've seen that with Ford and F-450s right after they launched the aluminum body 2017. I've done the same thing with them. So I know it's possible. I'm not sure if they changed something in the last couple of years. And, the Allison, I've never had big problems with the Allison. But, yeah, right now I think I would probably give the Allison the A and give the other 2 Bs. But they're close. But, yeah, see? So there's my opinion. You got that, Ram. You can take this free advice from Mr. Truck and Mr. Big Truck. And how are you going to grade them? Well, you've driven a few of them. Well, you know all about those great big trucks.
Well, I got to tell you, when you drive something that's programmed for fuel economy and then you go and you drive your own truck that's not, well, you get this great big respect for something that's been a complete pain in your butt for a while. It's like, you know what? You're not so bad. You do pretty good because he actually responds when I put my foot down. So that's a whole nother story for a whole different day of trucks that they're set up to do little emissions as possible, maximum fuel economy as possible, and they just don't respond the way they used to.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the future of semis. They've got a shortage of drivers, and so they have a lot more women drivers and a lot more drivers from other countries who aren't familiar with 18 speeds or 11 speeds or whatever. The automatics is what they're putting in these trucks, and a lot of them have trouble going down that Ike and not knowing how to use the exhaust brake with it or any of that.
And that really comes into training, and actually that's a great big conversation in the trucking industry, period, is that if there were more training, there'd be a whole lot less issues. But it comes down to it, these new automatic trucks, I can literally, with no CDL, put my wife in this thing, and she could probably do better than half the drivers out there. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah, that's the future. They're going to have, they can't find, it's just like everybody, can't find enough workers in there and the skill set that they need, so they have to improvise.
Oh, it's not about finding. They don't care to. It's what can I do for the cheapest amount?
Yeah. Fleets are kind of taking over the roads. There's not as many independents as there was, like you. You're an independent truck driver.
Very, very much so. And I definitely gotta get back out there to keep the money rolling in, because we all can't sit down for X amount of weeks. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. Well, thanks, Dan. I really love your hat. So keep on trucking.
Well, hey, I'm pretty sure we ought to be able to sell these. People love Mr. Truck because, he got a whole lot of information. I'm pretty sure some people ought to be able to go and get themselves a nice slick hat like this?
Oh, that'd be expensive. I don't know. I've tried selling hats when I had HemiTruckClub.com. I sold that site, and we sold a few hats, but it's not an easy business selling hats. I guess that's how it goes.
From my understanding, you got to go through like a third party nowadays.
Yeah, it's expensive. These came out of Wyoming, and they're not cheap. Look at that. Anyway, thank you. We'll talk to you later, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give us some comments and subscribe and hit somebody's bell or whatever that is. If you like it, hit the like thing. That always helps too. And we'll talk to you next time. Mr. Truck from the bunker, and
y'all have yourselves a great day. Be safe, and we'll catch you on the flip. Bye-bye.
If you have a short bed truck, you know it's not easy to hook up to a gooseneck. Pop-Up came out with these extensions from 9 inches to 16 inches to keep you from breaking out your back window when you're pulling a gooseneck trailer. And everybody uses a short bed. That's the most proper truck there is a crew cab short bed. So protect that window.